Hello and welcome to Moving Mad with Manny because ain't shit funny when you fuck around with people who have good hearts. And I'm going to actually start with a trigger warning because, again, I'm respectful. This episode will contain mental health, suicide ideation, suicide attempt. So if that is too much for you to take on right now, or if that is triggering, I understand. Feel free to leave now. Okay, if you stuck around, you got to hear this now. Okay, so I'm just going to start off by saying January 7th of my life will be a day I will never forget. January 7th of 2025 is the day that I woke up and decided to take my life. And I only start this podcast or this second attempt at a podcast in this manner because this is my way of honoring all that she had endured for the last 30 years of her life, all that she had given, all that was taken, all of the heartbreak, all of the sorrows, all of the disappointments, all of the betrayals, all of the abandonment, all of it, every single thing. Alienation, and damn, add that bitch in too. This is my way of honoring her and remembering her because I will never, ever, ever, ever be that girl again. Because that girl back then had nothing to live for. She gave her life and put it in the hands of other people. She told other people, what should I do? How should I live? How should I look? Should I act this way? Should I do this? And while she was doing that from a place of love and care, she was also doing that from a place of fear because that girl had lots of dreams. That girl was bright. That girl had a light that people would come to just see. People would come and see that girl. And that girl saw herself on stages. That girl saw herself healing people. That girl saw herself doing amazing big things with her life because she knew that her story would matter one day. She knew that her circumstances, what she saw and what she felt, was not her reality. She felt duped a bit because deep down I always knew who the fuck I was. And when you grow up and when you're placed in circumstances outside of that show you otherwise, you forget yourself, right? We all do. Think back to your experiences growing up and really taking a hard look at that and remembering who and what you thought you were. Because back then I thought I was a superhero. Back then I thought I was a pop star. Back then I thought I was the hottest thing on earth and I was going to make America's Next Top Model. That girl believed in anything. And not only did she believe in anything, she fucking knew she could do everything because she had the capacity, because she had the intelligence, she had the charm, the wit, the gift of the gab. She had it all. And guess who chose to strip, to take, to dim, to minimize that? Everybody in her life that she has loved. Everybody. And I say that lightly, the all part, because I cannot say that it is 100% everyone's fault. It definitely is my fault. Not my fault. Let's take fault out of this. When it comes down to choosing who you love and not, it is a two-way street. It is also the way that you are kind of being attached to them and what that attachment's showing you. Come January 7th, when I woke up that morning and I decided that today was the day, I sat down and I pulled out my lovely notebook. And this part is really hard because my notebook is where I find a lot of solace. And I just remember writing a note to my family and just telling them that I'm sorry I failed them. And I realized I didn't fail them that hurt the most. I failed that version of me, that little girl. I gave up on her. I tried to do two things at once. I tried to Actually, hold on, I'm crying. So this is a meme that I'm gonna add that I think is enough. That's what I tried to do. Unironically, this is not funny. But either way, in writing out that letter, I realized, of course, towards the end, that I gave up on her. And not in a way of like, oh, like, I'm not going to pursue my dreams or stuff, but I gave up on believing that I could do whatever the F I wanted to do. That belief of mine left. And she comes up, and she has been coming up a lot, that belief of like, I could do whatever I want. I could do it. I know that whatever I put my mind to, I can achieve. I can magnetize. I can attract and I can get shit done. And rather than using that belief as the main way that I view life and operate from, I used it as a last ditch resort. The fuck it, I give up kind of resort. I'm gonna do it anyways, or when someone pisses me off, like right now. But when I woke up this morning and I was taken back to that girl not the baby girl, actually, January 7th, that baby girl, I started crying uncontrollably, like deep within myself, because I realized that I have been so focused on building this dream life of mine, of proving other people wrong, of just being so focused on rebuilding my life that I completely forgot about everything that I had forgot everything that I overcame to get to this point. And I'm thinking, what do I do next? What do I do next? Baby girl, you almost took your life 6 months ago. And now look at you. Like, sit with that. Like, how could I have not seen that for myself or even acknowledged that growth within myself? Because this version of me now, the one who wakes up every day, who thinks she can take on the world, who is so deeply trusting in herself and what life has to show her and offer her and co-create with her, and is now fully being like, I'm going to do me, hasn't had a moment of reflection and a moment of deep reverence and a deep, deep level of appreciation for myself to have flipped my life over the last 6 months. Because the things that I have gone through leading up to this point, my God, like it was years and years of deep, deep pain that came up and up and up. And each time I met those fears head on, and I didn't even meet them as fears. I met them as curiosity. I met them as, okay, in this version of myself, how is this shit gonna play out? Because it's not acceptable anymore. And for the first time in my whole life, this is me finally admitting I have a backbone now. And that is funny to say because I was going to argue and say, not that I didn't, no, I didn't have a backbone. I'm being dead ass because having a backbone to me means that I'm honoring myself and knowing that if I do something, put myself out there, communicate to other people, I'm there to protect myself. Not only protect myself, I am open, but I'm no longer fearing the outcome. I'm no longer fearing the what ifs because fearing the what ifs led me to almost taking my life. It led me down this belief that I had to attach my will to live with something outside of me, whether it be family, whether it be a relationship, whether it be a work or a hobby or my creativity. I always attached my will to live to something else and not for myself. Not because I had this deep love for myself. Because here's the thing, self love is great, but that is just the surface. What I was clearly lacking was self respect for myself. I did not respect my boundaries. I didn't respect the way that my body needed to process emotions. I didn't respect the way that I needed to slow down and to smell the fucking roses. I didn't appreciate life. And I didn't appreciate the beauty in all of the amazingness that God has provided for me, regardless of whether or not I checked it off of my Q2 goals. Because when I made that realization come January 7th that I have been living for things all outside of myself and letting that dictate my will to live, I told myself that I would never, ever get to that point again. And that what I experienced the last 4 months before, September all the way until January, was me putting up a fight for what I believed was true within my heart and how I was able to not only have a belief, but I started taking action on it. And I kept tackling every fear. But now, come January, and come that day, I told myself from this day on, I will show people who the fuck I am. Like, I'm tired of people thinking I am naive of some sorts or I am so forgiving. I am forgiving, but I am also a Scorpio. Like, let that sink in. I forgive, I transmute, and I use that shit for my fucking power. So yeah, of course I'm gonna forgive you, but I don't fuck with you anymore. Maybe for some people, because it depends. But for many people, absolutely not. But what I had to go through on January 7th, and what I promised myself was, I am not afraid of the fucking dark. I am not scared to go into the shadows, into the void, because I know that I'm going to bring out that light. And when I bring out that light, not only am I going to benefit, but my fucking ops are going to fail. Sorry. And the way that they fail, or at least the way that karma is dished out for me, is that you guys will sit here and watch me rise to the top like a fucking phoenix. And I have kept so much of my truth bottled in, so much of my discontent for life and the way that we operate. My discontent for how people act within relationships. My discontent with people not acknowledging the fear, but blaming others for their inability to take action. And you know who I'm talking about. And ignore that last part. I'm here today because today's a new moon in Cancer. And for those that don't know or aren't familiar with astrology, a new moon is a new beginning. And it is in the sign of Cancer, which is its home sign, which is in its just makes it extra gooey and lovely and gushy, but also extremely emotional. And emotional in the sense of calling attention or shining light into the parts of you that really require you to be truly truthful with yourself. And this is happening currently within my fifth house of pleasure, creativity, romance, and overall joy. And when I sat down today and I thought about that memory, I cried because not only did I accomplish every single one of my goals that I set out to accomplish over the last 6 months. I did that with nobody. And I can say that. I did that on my own, not on the backs of me trying to figure out and asking people what to do. I made a decision, I made a plan, and I stuck with it. Now, people did help, people did support, but that is what I mean when I said that I did it on my own. I didn't go outside of me to determine how I should fucking move anymore. I said, I have a system, I know what I want, and I know what I'm also open to exploring and where I am open to going. And I held on to that because I needed to learn how to respect myself. I needed to learn not for the sake of guarding and protecting myself, but respecting my intellect, respecting my ambition, respecting my damn capacity and what I am able to do, and most importantly, my fucking creativity. I have tools, systems, mindsets, perspective. There is so much within me. And the thing is that as I am saying this, I know that this isn't news to people. People have known this, and I have just been so goddamn scared to tap into it. And this is my declaration on this lovely new moon to do more so of that. And so this is what this podcast is. It's now fucking personal because while I am never one to retaliate, I am never one to break out of my own character or stoop down to your low energetic vibes, it is also on me to call people to the front because I know what my assignment is and I know what I needed to remember. And I'm not scared of the fact that I am a light switch to people. I wake them the fuck up like this. And on top of that, I know that what I say and what I do always comes from a pure place. It always comes from pure of heart, pure gut, pure mind, pure energy, and I do it because I love that person. And I say love, and it kind of scared me coming out low key, but that is my operating system. I operate from a place of love. And when I choose to not operate from a place of love, that's when life smacks me in the face and tells me to wake the fuck up and to go apologize, right? Like, I got it. You're right. Lesson learned, lesson learned. And so I didn't realize really up until now, actually, as I'm thinking about it. As I have been burned, stayed in the phase, fiddled, fumbled of some sorts. I look around and I tell myself, I wish I had done things differently. I wish I had called them out. I wish I had said this. I wish I, no, not at all, because I can sit happy right now in this bed of mine and know that I did everything with a pure heart. And I always will operate from that place. And I'm a Pisces rising. My Saturn is currently also in Pisces. So just so that people are like, what the fuck does that mean? Pisces rising, your rising sign is the way that you kind of move around in the world, how you operate. And Pisces is all about being in flow. I am the pure definition of being neither here nor there. I am in between worlds. And for the longest time, I saw that as me being delusional, but then having to reel back and be realistic. And then in that process of reeling back and being realistic, I drop all the beautiful things that I had just dreamt about because I have been told by all this external noise, all of these people, places, and things that that's not possible. And what I had realized is that that was the problem. This bouncing back between the imaginary world or other side or the void back into reality is my fucking superpower. And it is not a curse, which I've always thought. Because I've always told myself, why is my reality or what I think is possible so much more different than what other people can think or see or feel? And I had spent so much time trying to convince other people to see shit from my perspective because I was too scared for me to embody it fully. And this is me saying that I am now. The way that I am doing it is by showing you guys how the fuck I am getting all the shit that I am getting because I am the luckiest girl. My whole birth chart shows that, and I will prove it to you guys step by step. But I'm not just, again, saying I'm lucky because of my birth chart. Okay, I take that back because I am the luckiest woman in the world. I am highly favored, blessed again, and it is about time that I start acting like it. And it is time to see what I once saw as a curse as a gift because there's so much good that I could do with that. Rather than thinking about people not understanding me, I have to bring people in to see it, to see how I take something from the ethers or the void, from a crash out spiral, and I turn it into form because that is what I am meant to do. And that also doesn't just apply to ideas and places and things, it also applies to people. And if you're sitting here being like, what are you talking about, Manny? It's because I have zero fucks left to give. Zero. And it is probably one of the most freeing things to experience in your life when you felt like you've spent so much of it upholding rules and restrictions and boundaries that were always placed upon you, but also not on others. You know, it's really interesting to see how much of my life was like me thinking I was getting all of this special treatment, but I saw it all. I spent so much time thinking that people were out to get me when in reality they saw my light and they saw my what was bestowed upon me and they wanted to keep it down. They wanted to suppress that because that was a threat to them. That was a insecurity that I brought up within them. That was a potential liability that they weren't willing to take. You see where I'm going? And so rather than saying, why does everyone in my life that enters it believes it, I told myself, and starting today, and I will remind myself, is that I show people what's possible. I show people who they can be. There are parts of me that scare people because they see it within themselves. And for those people who choose to see that as a threat rather than an opportunity to go within themselves and to bring that own light out within themselves. That is not a me problem, sis. Sorry. On to the next. And when I actively choose to remove those people from my life rather than spending so much of my mental power trying to adjust my way of being to fit their level of comfortability, God literally opens the door of abundance for me. And that pisses them the fuck off. And a lot of them probably think that that's conniving, right? Like, how are you just gonna do that and move on? Well, babe, I was never meant for you to hold, ever. And we're never meant for that either. We are our own beings. But something we also do have to understand is that we are a part of a collective. We cannot operate as individuals, but we are individuals. When we operate, we take an action from within. However, that action from within also requires the care and consideration for those involved. And that was a really hard distinction for me to make because I always felt like I saw life in such a in a binary of a this is right versus this is wrong. And I realized in my own self and even in my own processing of people, places, and things, there are people that I had let go of, that I had removed from my life because of their inability to meet me there. And rather than understanding them and meeting them where they're at and figuring out something that makes much more sense and is beneficial for both of us, or are able to come to a decision that is, again, for our best growth or effort, I made that decision to just take myself out because I didn't deserve that. I deserve X, Y, and Z. I deserve this perfect thing, or I deserve this, one attempt that gives me everything that I want. That's not how life works. And that is kind of the season that I had to go through. A season of understanding that while it is beautiful that I have this beautiful gift of taking this lovely ideas or whatever I find in the void and bringing it into life, it requires patience, it requires care, and it requires people. People was the last thing that I had to learn, especially after January 7th, to not only redefine my definition of love or how I want to receive love or give love, I had to expand the ways in which love operates or takes hold within two people, right? That love can drop in such crazy forms. It could be that, you love this person because they have the same style of humor as you. And while they may not check off all these other things, I can still really appreciate them for that and value that from them. You can have love for people who you know that they would always be down for a good time, but you can also respect that they may not want to have deep conversations with you. You can love people who may prioritize their own boundaries and time and making sense of their self in solitude before they meet with people rather than taking it as an offense and as a way of fixing them or helping them because they need to figure it out on their own. And those are people who I realized that I had tried to fit into a box. And that in itself is a reverse Uno of my whole life prior to January 7th. And I hate that I have to use that date, man, because it's January 6th. I hate it. Anyways, but prior to that, that is what I was fighting against, right? And that is when this curse that I had was used as a blessing. I was like, I know how to get out of this situation. I know how to fight for myself. And that's what I did a lot of 2024. But 2025, or at least starting in this new moon cycle, baby, I'm out. I'm done. I'm not fighting. I'm not being like biting. I'm not biting my tongue. I'm going to pray to God and be like, what do I say right now? And if he says something, cool, I'm going to say it. If he doesn't, he'll say it one day and it'll come out for you. But I'm joking, that was a lot. But what I meant to say more so is that starting today, I'm prioritizing the fuck out of myself. Truly me. And it is so funny thinking now how I was so afraid of being perceived as selfish when there's not even a selfish act that I had done out of this heart. Because if you think I did something that was selfish and my intention was not, that's you. Like, it wasn't me being selfish. It was me not doing something in the way that you wanted me to. You are upset because I didn't show up in the way that you wanted me to show up. You are upset because I didn't conform to this idea of who you thought I was and what I could give to you and how you wanted to extract from me. So, therefore, you're upset now and you think I'm a fraud. So, that is what I'm putting a stop to because that is now what I'm using to fuel everything that I have going for me right now. Because if you think that I am selfish, if you think I am fake, or if you think I am untrustworthy, I want you to turn this camera around and look at yourself because, babe, I know from my deepest of hearts that's not me. You could say it. You can question my actions. You could stop talking to me. You can be in my comments, my DMs. You can send bitches out to get me. It does not matter because it's not going to rock me. You're not going to break character. Character is who I am. You're not. But all this to say is that I'm gatekeeping, truly. And not in the sense of a typical gatekeeping, right? Let me take a step back. I'm not going to gatekeep all these amazing, beautiful ideas and knowledges and gifts that I have. I'm going to be selective as fuck. And my whole life, I've been looking for friends. I've been looking for people, community, for someone to accept me 100% for me. And that's what I am doing right now. I'm accepting me 100% for who I am. No if, and, or buts. It is genuinely an honor to be in my energy, in my presence. And it is about time that I fully acknowledge that and say it, not just be like, "Oh, maybe, no, I bet you are." And I will act accordingly because I know that life can throw me in the deepest of darkest holes and I can get out of that because God gave me an example, January 7th. And what he has shown me over the last 6 months is that I am truly capable of doing anything I set my mind to. That it is not just me. It's life. It's God. It's with Him. It's through people. It is through the lovely signs. And most fucking importantly, it is through my joy and my pleasure and my pure happiness that when I feel good, I attract. And when I attract, it's crazy. And this is what this show is going to be about. It is showing you all the power of pleasure, the power of joy, the power of creativity to not only heal you with what you're going through, but to be the guiding light that brings you back home to yourself. Because what I see online right now, that's not creative. What I see right now is being labeled as creativity or how that's being thrown around. It's not that. And it's actually upsetting me. And I think it's upsetting Big Man on top because that is your channel. You are a channel for him, for source, for whomever you believe in. It is on us, again, to be that lovely vessel, to make sure we take care of ourselves, to make sure that we work through any of the beliefs that may hinder us or make us act a certain way, or to question life and to question why we want to constantly act on something or why we're so overwhelmed or fearful. It is on us to experience life so that our vessel is good to go when the signal drops. And what do we use after that? Creativity. And so that is where we're disconnected. That is why you have this deep hole in heart, a pit in your stomach, thinking that something else is out there. And while, yes, I can say go back to God, that'd be great. My starting point was my creativity, and my creativity led me back to God. Listen to that again. Creativity is what filled this deep hole in my heart. And maybe it might not be God per se in your instance, but it brings you back to that feeling of being fucking alive. Because creativity isn't a tool that you turn to in order to go viral, in order to be consistent so you can make 10 figures, or to be a fucking influencer. It is not. And I will stand by it. And this is what my platform is dedicated to, the reclaiming of that, because it is one of the most miraculous tools that we have. And it is a tool that no one can take away from you. And it is a tool that is deeply unique. That is you. And that helps me find my will to live. And so, do you see why now it's personal? Because what saved me from the pits of hell and almost taking away this beautiful life of mine was because of everything outside of me telling me what was wrong, what I was doing wrong. When I had this amazing tool that showed me my truest version of me, it is the first tool outside of me that was able to reflect back my truth, my inner world out in my reality. That is shocking to me. That was a shock for me. That was a shock for me. And that is why I felt so much rage this morning when I woke up. Because I realized that January 7th, I stopped this. I stopped my podcast and I stopped speaking my truth in this manner because when I had the podcast, my last episode was about my core wound and talking about my core wound, only for that to happen again at the end of that year and for it to be even 10 times worse and to leave me in that same wounded place. But on that day when I was wounded was the first day that I claimed my will to live without me really realizing it. Because that day I told myself if I spent my whole life and my whole mental load trying to figure people out, why can't I figure myself out and just move the way that I move and know that I can protect myself? I'm not some little itty bitty tiny person that, people are going, I can fight. Okay. I can't fight. I can roundhouse kick though. But I know that I was so afraid to figure myself out because I knew that figuring me out would lead me to this point that I would have to be seen. That figuring me out means I'd have to be on that world stage, means I have to go against the grain in the most craziest possible way. I have to move mad, aka too many moves. And I was so deeply afraid of how people would perceive me because I was so scared of losing more people in my life. But that fear led me to being hurt over and over and over again. I coddled people. I nurtured people to death. I gave so much of me that I had nothing left in the tank. And I thought that that was normal. I thought that that's how I received love, from a place of deficit, right? But what I realize is I receive love when I respect myself from people, from places, from things, and ultimately from when I pursue my dreams. And this lovely episode is the first of many. And I'm not even going to fucking plan it. We'll see what happens. But I have a really good feeling about this. And I want you all to know something. When people tell you to create content for your audience, tell them to fuck off. Tell them to truly fuck off. That part pisses me off. Creativity is a tool for you to discover parts of yourself that you never knew was possible, good and bad. It is supposed to help you navigate the lovely roller coaster of life. Homeboy didn't cut his ear off for no shit. I mean, granted, he had been told, but still, you see what I mean? Creatives have been painted as crazy people. But why is that bad? Why is it so bad for us to be crazy? Why is it so bad for us to have this deep belief within ourselves and think that we have to explain every aspect of that to people? We don't. And I'm not explaining myself to people anymore. I'm just going to be moving fucking mad. And that's the title of this podcast, Moving Mad with Manny. I like it. But anyways, and you will be in for a fucking ride. Sorry, let me remove that. But going back to the thing, when people tell you to create for others, they are dictating your life. When people tell you to create for your audience, while there are elements of that I can hold true to, no, I take that back. Nope. And if they ever tell you to fucking create for people, tell them to fuck off. Because, as I said, it's a tool for you to discover the good and the bad, but baby, that is where your power is. And that is how you connect to things that are beyond this lovely world of ours. That is how you connect to the void, to the unseen. That is where you get brilliance and genius. And creativity helps you bring it and make it and turn it into form. And so, if something was bestowed upon you and it dropped in, and you are now creating from it, why would you create with someone else in mind? Why would you create something or go through the shit thinking this is going to be for my target audience? No, because it won't stick. You will then think about, like, when you create for other people, it won't actually stick because you have no connection to it. You will find it a chore, you will find it a task, tedious, and then somehow you will turn it on yourself to think that you're a failure and you can't get shit done. And that's the trap that they keep telling you. Do not create for other people, create for yourself. If it's for a business, create for yourself. If it's for music, create for yourself. That is our biggest problem. And I am going to die on this hill. And we have to understand that when we create for ourselves, it is not for ourselves, it's for the collective good. That whatever you put out there, whoever sees it, regardless of the likes, the follows, or whatever, you've touched a life. Your voice reached someone, and even if they are aware of it or not, something clicked for them. It may not be in that exact moment, but it will be maybe 2 weeks from now. You know what I mean? You are here to create, and to not just create, but to create from your lived experience. And I'm not saying everybody out here needs to go live life and report back, but you need to find your way of communicating with life. And that is through creativity. That is your channel. That is your channel to all the things that you want. And after some time, you will start to realize that it becomes as easy as breathing air. And I can promise you that. Because when you create from a place of just genuine understanding, you're like, I want to make sense of this. And you have now something to turn to outside of yourself to help shape it with you. That is a beautiful relationship. That is deep respect for yourself, deep respect for yourself, because you don't have to figure it out on your own. You also don't have to go to other people and get their insights or go on TikTok and scroll and see so many tarot readers. Granted, tarot is an amazing, again, medium to figure that out. I'm not saying that, but in this context, creativity has no noise, no outside influence, but you and whatever medium you choose to operate from. Me with this mic and my pen and my lovely photos. I love to take memes, or at least send pictures of memes. But that's all to say is that today is a day I will never forget for the rest of my life. Because today is the day that I choose myself. I'm not calling this a comeback. I am reclaiming my throne, my crown. No, I don't like that either. All that to say is, lurkers, haters, I'm not giving you my energy. And also, for those of you who don't know me, you're not getting it either. If you find me, great. If you don't, consider yourself blessed or lucky, because what this will be, and I just want to end on this note. There are a lot of things that I clock in life and see, and I choose to stay silent. But even as you just saw, I started on that because I'm up to here now, up to here with not just people, places, and things, but what's happening in the current events of this world and how deeply, deeply fucked up we have it, and how deeply wired and conditioned we have been that we are literal zombies walking around. The fact that I questioned so many things that I thought was like, hey, like, what about this? What about we are seeing this now. Clear example. I live in New York. Why the fuck were we worried about Andrew Cuomo? I don't see. I don't even give a fuck about his name. Potentially how could he be a threat to someone with his record? I'm here to tell you guys that life has patterns. Life is not a very passive thing that we deem it to be. I'm sorry, not we, but the people on top have deemed it to be. We have a active responsibility to partake in life. We have a obligation, a civil duty to not ourselves, but to our collective, to source, God, whoever you report up to. It is on us to fix the bullshit that's out there. But it is not on us to just fix this for now and so we can be all right. We have to fucking think about this past generation. Just think about the kids. And when you are able to, and my job is to be that. I'm not a snitch, but if it's a system, I'm gonna break it. That was a good quote. I'm gonna probably use that. This is the first installment of many more of Making Mad Moves with Manny. Okay, now bye.